I met my partner, I felt for the first time like I was seen. He didn't just see me, like he actually saw my heart. And he took the time to ask me, what is it that you've experienced that has put you to the spot where you are now? And I opened up. And from April 26, 2021, nobody has been able to lay their hands on me. And that is simply because I got with my partner. I found my partner. I found the person that literally brings spark to my soul. Like this, when they talk about that soulmate energy, that twin flame, that person that just, your soul was destined to be with, that's my partner. He is the most beautiful and amazing man I've ever met in my life. He has a beautiful mind. And Kevin was threatened by that. There was a lot of issues. He did not like the fact that I found a 6 foot tall, burly man that could break him easy. Kevin wasn't the type to ever stand up for me. He would never stand up for me to his mother. His mother could say that I was the R word. I don't like to use it. She could say that I was a basket case. She could say I was a bad mom. She would say that I was all of these things. I didn't care. I didn't care about anybody else but my fucking self in her eyes. The whole time protecting her son from what he had done and not acknowledging the abuse that she had actually put me through. So in May, I was told to get the fuck out and leave. I said I was not leaving without my son. I was not going to leave my son in an abusive home. Ended up getting down the street, was told that if I did not bring my son back, that the sheriffs were going to be called. I was going to be reported for kidnapping, and I was going to be thrown in jail. He had Ellen, my mother, and her husband call me and threaten me. I remember bringing my son back to the house, telling my son, "Mommy loves you. Mommy's never going to give up on you. And I'm going to be here. I'll be back." And I went down to Puyallup, stayed with my partner's parents for a couple of months, and kind of started getting back, figuring out what I needed to do. Got back to work. Took a job in downtown Seattle. So I was driving 120 miles a day round trip, and was trying to stay in contact with my son. In May, I was told I was going to go be able to see my son again. So it had been a couple weeks, show up to the place, and my brother that is supposed to be on my corner was there serving me papers with my ex-husband, told me that they had tricked me into coming, and was told that I needed to show up virtually to court. And I went through a divorce process that you don't hear about, you don't see, you might see it on TV, but you don't see in real life. I was told flat out that I was losing my son, what they called 191 limitations in Washington state. And 191 limitations essentially means you are a parent that has been found to either be an addict. You might be a parent that has been told that you've been abusive. So like verbal abuse, basically like yelling at your child, calling your child names type of thing. And I wasn't like that. I didn't do that to my son. I had a nickname for my son, and I called him my little ferret because Oliver, like his mom, is ADHD. And from a very young age, he would giggle, he would take something and he would hide it, and then he would run away, and he would think it was so funny. It was the funniest thing ever. And this kid could lose things and then find it right away. And his empathic heart, he would just see you and just like hug you and love you. I mean, this is my baby, my miracle baby. And I couldn't find representation. When I tried finding representation, I was told, because I didn't have the $6,000 down, that they couldn't help me because the lawyer that was representing my ex-husband, is named J. Michael Gallagher, and he is well known in the state of Washington against women. He hates women. Um, he used to be on TV commercials saying, "Don't be a weekend parent," and the lawyer for the dads, and all of this shit because he was taken through the ringer. And in court, the judge allowed him multiple times to call me outside of my name. So he called me a bitch. He told me that I was evil. He told me that I was stupid. He told me that I could never say that I was disabled. He's like, "You can't say you're disabled because you have a job." And then I said, "No, no, 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 no. That's against the Americans with Disabilities Act." And I start defending and say, "No, this is where you're wrong." And then he's like, "But how are you working? You're disabled. And you have this. You can't be a parent. You can't be a parent with autism." And ended up really being affected by it. Like I wasn't okay with it. And ended up uh going going through some pretty heavy shit. Through the court process, was ripped apart, was told I was a bad mom, um, was told that my mental health made me incapable of being a parent, was told that me being part of the LGBTQ family, I had since came out as pansexual and somebody who just loves humans of all of that. Doesn't matter what's between your legs. Like, I'm gonna look at who you are as a person. And I've dated people from all different backgrounds. I've dated people who were transitioning from male to female, from female to male. I've dated other people that were pansexual, bisexual, polyamorous. I mean, I love everybody. And was told that made me a bad parent and that my child would not be raised correctly because I was influencing something that was improper. So all of this stuff happens. And then they rule me as 191 limitations. And their direct things on that paper were, because she has called her son my little ferret, that was abusive. They said, "We found you be 191 limitations because you have mental health trauma. You were abused when you were growing up. You didn't get the help, and we don't know that you're not going to do the same to your son." But they allowed, on trial, I told them that my ex-husband raped me and that I never hurt my son. I protected my son. And they said, despite the fact that he admitted on stand of doing what he did, he was never charged with it. And they found him to be the better parent. And it was done. I was done. I was just like, fuck this. Andrea is dead. I'm no longer going to be Andrea. And at that point, I had done some ancestry research and had found out that my dad's biological dad was a swinger. And so I'd done the stuff and saw it was Scottish Viking and a lot of Norse background, but specifically that the Swanger family that I actually stem from, I look like them. And it was like that point of awakening, like, okay, I actually have other family that I didn't even know about. And so I went through a name change and I was like, I don't want to be Andrea anymore. And I was looking through these books and I saw the name Arwyn, and Arwyn was spelled Arwin, like Lord of the Rings. I was like, I don't want to be named after Arwyn from Lord of the Rings. I want to do things differently. So I said, I'm going to put a Y in my name. And I found that spelling. And people don't know, I can show you, but I have a phoenix tattoo on my arm. This is one of my many, but it's considered my self-portrait. I have always viewed myself as like a phoenix having to rise above the ashes. I have been literally taken down and had people try to take me out, and I still come back fighting. And so I was like, Phoenix is going to be my middle name. And so I said, my name is no longer Andrea Renee, at that time Potter. I said, my name is going to be Arwyn Phoenix Swanger. And I have gone with it over the last year and a half. And people, like, now, like, if you try, you can Google my old name, you can find me under my old name, but it's not who I am anymore. It's not my identity. And so I think through that whole process and having to survive what I did, going through the divorce and losing my son and having to fight back, I'm still trying to fight back. I'm still working I've been sober almost 2 years as of August. I bust my ass. I work 70 hours a week between my job with Ultranauts, and then I have my own firm that I do stuff and I help job seekers and help organizations. I do mental health talks. I do a lot of that stuff. So I may not have a degree in mental health. I may not have a psychology degree. I may not have a master's degree or even a bachelor's. I don't. I have real life experience. I have the equivalent of an associate's because I went through a specific training program in the state of Washington. And I actually went on to become nationally credited through a company called APSI, the Associated Supportive Professional Employment Network. But basically, people that have disabilities to be seen as people, not just somebody that's disabled, and that employment should be accessible to all humans. So I worked a lot with people who had like Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy, maybe who had been previously incarcerated. So like when you were incarcerated, you're already underprivileged because you're then having to fight against all these other statistical things that you may have experienced. And so I actually worked a lot with people, multiple people from different backgrounds that might have done certain things. They may have had a person against person crime. They may have had theft or robbery or some strong arm or something that had entered them into the system. And at that same time, I was actually helping the federal marshals. Long story short, I like to do private investigator stuff, right? I'm like the researcher. But I met a family who had been affected. There was a man that had been on the run for about a year. His name was Jory Worthen. He had killed his girlfriend and her 4-year-old little boy in Camden, Arkansas. I actually got to know the mom of the victim, became really close with her, and worked hand in hand with the marshals. He was on the top 10 of the US. And that was back in 2020. So right around when COVID and all that was happening. And through all this networking and learning how to put myself out there, we all built like this group, and people all over the world started looking for this man. And he was found and he was sentenced, and now he's in prison for the rest of his life. And it didn't give them their family back, but it gave them their chance to speak. And so that's kind of where my life has taken me. I want to help. So now I have my own firm. I help job seekers. I help businesses. I help organizations that are looking to hire, headhunting, training. I talk about diversity and inclusion. I talk about autism at work. I talk about being neurodivergent. I talk about going through things. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows every day. You're going to have people that are going to go through things in their life, but it's about those active listening skills, and it's about using those tools in your tool belt. So like DBT, CBIT, all of that I've done all these years, I'm using what I learned as a child and growing up and trying to help the lives of others. And so I do a lot of stuff when it comes to public speaking, talking, sharing my story. I've gone on podcasts. I'm actually in the process of trying to make my own podcast where I can talk to people and just give them that safe place. This is your spot. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, know this is a zero judgment free zone, and be there and support them. Over the years, I actually just got notified yesterday, one of my gals got a job. We're right around 800 placements over the last 15 or 16 years. So super exciting, helping a lot of people. And I do a lot of stuff for outreach. I try to help, and I try to let everybody know that while I may have a story that can be triggering because of the experiences that I experienced, I wouldn't go back and change a thing. And it's hard to say that, but I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't be where I am right now and the stronger person that I am now if I hadn't gone through what I went through. And I feel like if we as people can eliminate this whole cancel culture nonsense of, well, you said the sky's pink and I say the sky is blue, so I'm going to go and make sure that everybody turns on you because you said the sky is pink crap. I mean, come on. We live in a world where there's a lot of stuff going on. And you can't always be politically correct. You can't. We have a very broken system. And to be honest, like I don't go any route with that. I come from a long line of family that was involved within like the Freemasonry. So my actual 4 times great grandpa was one of the founding members of Indiana from Boone County Masonic Temple. He was the Grand Master there. He actually fought for the Union and wrote to Abraham Lincoln. I found the letter that he did. I come from a really strong line of advocates, people fighting for human rights, people fighting for Jewish rights, people fighting to have their stories heard. I shared with Rita, I have a really combobulated family history. So heart disease, endometriosis, cervical cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, breast cancer, stomach cancer, prostate cancer, all run heavily in my family. My grandfather died at 60 years old due to pancreatic cancer. He was an alcoholic, my mother's birth dad. And so I've had a lot of those issues. And I encourage everybody to take care of yourself and your reproductive health, your physical health. Make sure that you're checking. I would not have made it another 3 months if I hadn't had my surgery. Going in, finding that I had endometriosis to the point I did. I had a mass that was growing on my small intestine. I had scarring that was going up my uterine wall, my bladder. It was taking over my body. I was in pain for 25 years, no answers. I was told I had chronic pancreatitis with calcification, never to drink again. I quit drinking cold turkey. I then got told 6 months later the pancreatitis didn't show up. At the last image, pancreatitis doesn't even show up anymore because I've been able to lose combined total about 200 pounds now. I don't have a final weigh-in number. I'm actually going to get that today, so I'll be able to update that. But I just worked really, really hard on trying to get to where I am, and now getting as close to death as I did. Like, it's so humbling just to know, like, life is very, very beautiful, and until we get out of our own way, like you can't have that victim mentality. You can't say, I'm always the victim. Everybody's always against me. I did that. I did that for up until I was 33 years old because that's what I knew. And it was only over the last 2.5 years that I have been able to develop and go from that victim mentality to I'm a fucking fighter. You can't take me down. Look what I've gone up against. Nothing's going to bring me down. And I'm going to continue fighting. And at the end of the day, I'm going to have the last laugh because I know my son will come home to his mom, even if it takes another 5 years, if it takes 2 years, if it takes 10 years. I don't care. The love that I have for my child will always be my guiding. And that is what has given me the strength to continue to fight to where I am today. I have a loving partner, and I'm finally free.